Rockies Desperate and pathetic. Nothing but a coward. You're a fool with nothing to offer. No one will ever believe you. They see you for what you are. You're just a fraud, a shell of a person. And now the marvelous fear of penetrate the demons that love you. They enslave you into the depths of the hate. I am the son of a...
Do you wanna go for a ride in my consensual sex van? Do you wanna go for a ride in my consensual sex van? Let me take you far away from all this huff and puff. There will be nothing in between our love, like a pair of doves flying high above, where nothing can touch us.
let's go. Just get in the van.
When your life is a never-ending train wreck, and you feel like you're drowning in a sea of regret, with a bit of oppression pressing down on your neck, it hurts so bad. When your overwhelming hatred kills your heart's desire, and reality starts looking like a dumpster fire, you start bitching to me, but you're preaching to the choir. You don't need to be so mad. 'Cause sometimes we hurt, sometimes we cry, sometimes we're sure there's no reason to try. When the whole world goes completely insane, open your heart, stand up and sing. I'm gonna finger bang my day. Yeah, yeah, I'll finger bang my day. That's right. You gotta make the choice to give it all you've got, and make your day long with pleasure, really make it hot. Because your day deserves a lover that pulls out the stops. Come on, it's not so hard. 'Cause sometimes we hurt, sometimes we cry, sometimes we're sure there's no reason to try. When the whole world blows up in our face, what else could we do but stand up and sing? I'm gonna finger bang my day. Yeah, yeah, finger bang my day.
Hey, what are we really doing? We can't live in a world that has this much hate. We have to get honest with ourselves. We have to take stock in what our part is in all of this madness. We have to let go, and we focus on giving love, setting that intention. And each and every single one of us gets up every day with the intention to give love. And we do it. We go out there and we give love every single day. Each one of us gets out there and makes love to our day, giving our day a multiple orgasm. The whole world will be orgasmic for the rest of eternity.
Sometimes we hurt, sometimes we cry, sometimes we're sure there's no reason to try. When the whole world is fucking insane, we open our hearts, stand up and sing. I'm gonna finger bang my day. Finger bang my day. Finger bang my day. Let's open our hearts, stand up and sing. I'm gonna finger bang my day. Yeah, yeah, finger bang my day.
I just got a package, I can't wait to get home. I spent all day tracking the shipment on my phone, all that she was lacking. I ordered custom, I can't wait to get some. Take it to the bedroom, bitches always nagging. Now I got the air, I send the bitches packing, going my way. I have a new attraction, don't care what you say, it's better in every way. Now baby, it's time to play, we're gonna make us a tape and show everyone the way. Cause I'm going my own way, riding up the Silicon Way. I wanna see on that game with my new real phone, I'm gonna play. Just second brain to my Silicon Way. yes, I'm calling my way, riding up Silicon Way. I see on the game with my new real dog. I'm gonna play just second way to my Silicon Way. She is here to stay. She's my new real dog, and it's time to play. With my new real dog, I'm gonna play. She's my new real dog, and it's time to play.
The woman of my dreams.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Fais-moi l'amour.
Je suis amoureux.
Je pense toujours à
Enchanté,
tous les gens,
ma chérie. Mon
Tous les
futur
gens.
dans une hostie.
tous
Ils étaient le nipple.
tous les gens. Fais-moi
It's like living on a super yacht, making love to a robot. It's like owning a football team, but having sex with a robot. It's like winning an Oscar and Emmy or Grammy when you're fucking a robot. It's like saving a family with a newborn from a fire, but you're fucking a robot. I'm calling my way, riding up Silicon Way. I see on the game with my new real dog. I'm gonna play just second way to my Silicon Way. She is here to stay. She's my new real dog, and it's time to play.
I got molar moves, got that molar too. You think it's wrong? I could've had too long. Fuck that. Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head, I'm never gonna cut it.
All these hookers sweet on me. Look at them chasing me, showing me that ass. And I'm back up to snatch. I do this shit for free. Go down your mom till 3. She's taking selfies with the mullet like it's history. How can I maneuver you with that pussy, dude? You sit like Buddha waiting on it to come to you. My lines are straight to the point. She shows me gratitude. So what's your latitude? Let's adjust your attitude. Head with a alligator, double dually Lamborghini. All up in a silly little yellow polka dot bikini.
I got molar moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long. Fuck that.
Head with a alligator, double dually Lamborghini. All up in a silly little yellow polka dot bikini.
Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head, I'm never gonna cut it.
Head with a alligator, double dually Lamborghini. All up in a silly little yellow polka dot bikini. You're like the butt of a butter knife cutting up panini. So climb back in your kangaroo pouch like a rolling genie. These moves are hot, these locks I got. This power cannot be disputed and it can't be bought. So you can find me in the studio with all these thoughts. You wanna buy my style, but you can't be what you're not, neighbor.
I got molar moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long. Fuck that. Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head, I'm never gonna cut it. Got that motherfucking molar head. You wanna touch it?
Yeah. Next time you come around here with your bitch ass, just remember how my mullet makes your hose pussy drip, drip, drip.
I got molar moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long. Fuck that. Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head, I'm never gonna cut it. I got molar moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long. Fuck that. Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head, I'm never gonna cut it. Never gonna cut it. cut it.
We are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. We just finished the book by Robert Wilkinson. Or is it Wilkins? Yes, Robert Wilkins. Death. And it was a pretty good book. It was pretty huge centering history of man's obsessions and fears. Now we're about to start this book right here. I'm super excited. The world's 100 greatest mysteries, strange secrets of the past revealed. So this is by E. Randall Floyd, and on the back it says, Journey through a universe of forgotten truths, Atlantis, Bigfoot, Bermuda Triangle, Bridie Murphy, Cardiff Giant, Dragons, Face on Mars, Haunted Battlefields, Casper Hauser, Noah's Ark, Nosferatu, Piltdown Man, Poltergeist, Shroud of Turin, or Turin, Spear of Destiny, Titans of Tianhuanco, Tunguska Explosion, Werewolves, and many more. The world's 100 greatest mysteries. Are tales of the lost kingdom of Atlantis merely myths? Do ships and planes actually disappear in the Bermuda Triangle? Can human beings simply burst into flames for no apparent reason? What really happened to Amelia Earhart, and what, precisely, is the Spear of Destiny we keep hearing so much about? If any one of these eerie questions keeps you up at night, get ready for a major bout of insomnia, because E. Randall Floyd is back again with his guide of creepy, crawly mysteries, guaranteed to have your lights burning until dawn. From doomsday stars to haunted battlefields, from werewolves to alien abductions, America's master compiler of unexplained phenomena and mysterious events has crammed all of your worst nightmares into one bizarre and terrifying package. You'll catch fleeting glimpses of Judge Crater and D.B. Cooper before they disappear forever, discover the president who reappeared from beyond the grave, find out why leprechauns aren't really so cute, and meet real live, well, not anymore, Amazons. So crank up the coffee maker and get ready for a long bumpy night. The world's 100 greatest mysteries is here to enthrall, fascinate, and horrify you for hours on end. But look at the bright side. You won't be hastening your time sleeping or being bored. E. Randall Floyd's book on historical oddities and strange happenings include, in the realm of ghosts and hauntings, the good, the bad, and the mud, or mad. America's greatest unsolved mysteries and great southern mysteries. I'm so excited. So a friend of mine, Dan aka Jack Mackerel, he's wanting to start a new series where a couple times a month, maybe every week, we haven't figured it out yet. We're going to be talking about stuff like this. Bigfoot, Allens, mechanically, what did he call it? Not mechanical flying devices, but mechanical ships? I don't know what he said. He said, don't use the term UFO or UAP or whatever. Use this term. I already forgot it. Sorry, Dan. The fires of heaven. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Let me go over here and make sure I'm on. Am I on? Is this thing on? Let's make sure. Yes. Looking good. So the most famous creation story ever told, read and memorized by millions of people around the world from darkest equatorial regions to the shining cities of heartland America. Penned more than 5,000 years ago, the biblical account of the origins of the universe sets forth the compelling notion that all the stars and planets and every creepy thing within the vastness of space sprang into existence on God's command at some remote moment in the past. One 17th century theologian, let me make sure my music isn't too loud. You guys let me know how it sounds. Let me go back over here. It's pretty loud, but I think I'm louder. Let me know if it's too loud. Tell me what you think. What do your earballs tell you? One 17th century theologian, Irish Archbishop James Ussher, went so far as to calculate the precise date and time of Earth's creation. 9 a.m. on the morning of October 23rd, 4004 BC. The French naturalist Georges Buffon disagreed, insisting that the world was at least 70,000 years old. In 1775, the German philosopher Immanuel Kant boldly speculated that the planet might be a million or even millions of years old. My ear just started ringing. Go away, tinnitus. Amazingly, more than 20% of Americans still believe the world was created less than 10,000 years ago. Seriously? Come on. Today we know these early estimates are billions and billions of years off the mark. Current scientific studies suggest that the universe began with a bang between 10 and 15 billion years ago, the result of a titanic explosion that sent showers of celestial dust and gases spewing in all directions. This was the so-called Big Bang, the primeval moment when nothingness ended and existence began. George Gamow, a Russian-born American scientist, is generally credited for coining the term in 1946 while studying the distribution of hydrogen, helium, and other chemical elements throughout the universe. He theorized that in the beginning of the universe consisted of the primordial substance called Ylem. How do you say that? Ylem. A boiling sea of neutrons and protons that eventually exploded and began to expand rapidly. This process of rapid expansion from a single primal cosmic egg continued for billions of years, gradually slowing and cooling to form stars, moons, planets, and eventually life, at least on Earth. In time, say some scientists, the universe will stop expanding altogether and begin to collapse upon itself due to gravitational forces. When that happens, so the theory goes, there will be another Big Bang, and the process will start all over again. Even the best trained scientists are still unsure what caused the Big Bang. Like hooded priests of old trying to understand thunder and lightning, they search the cosmos with powerful telescopes for answers. They count quasars and microwaves, probe black holes and superclusters of galaxies, billions of miles away. What inexplicable force sent cosmic shock waves freewheeling across the void, culminating in the formation of so much matter, galaxies, solar systems, planets, moons, millions of asteroids, and other planetary debris? These scientists are not alone in their curiosity. Since earliest times, people have gazed heavenward and wondered the same thoughts. As they beheld the flickering stars, the ghostly glow of celestial corpses long dead, kings and peasants alike must have asked themselves, where did it all come from? How was it created? Questions like these certainly plague ancient civilizations, just as they continue to puzzle modern scientists. Without radio telescopes and computer models, however, our ancestors turned to nature and magic and spiritual realms for answers to these great mysteries. Religion was born of necessity, and legends and myths respond in an attempt to understand the meaning of it all. In Africa, the Bantu tribe believed the universe was born one day when the great white god Bamboo got sick and vomited up all the moons, stars, and animals like leopard, crocodile, turtle, and finally some men, including Yokolima, who was white like bamboo. According to the Ainu people of Asia, nothing but demons and gods existed before the birth of the universe. It was a dark and cold place until Kamui, the chief god, looked down and decided to create worlds and fill them with animals and people. The devil tried to thwart him by swallowing the sun, but failed. When the first people were sent from the darkness to live on earth, the lesser gods held their noses, crying, "What a terrible smell they make." The Apache too had wonderful creation myths. In the beginning, nothing existed. No earth, sky, sun, or moon. Only darkness everywhere, throughout the humming void. From nothingness, there suddenly appeared a small bearded man, Creator, the one who lived alone. When created, gazed upon the darkness. He felt lonely, so decided to create light. Then he made a small child, who asked that a home be made for her. So Creator made Earth. The Aztec creation story centers around the original mother, a specular deity called Kotlik, Lady of the Skirt of Snakes. Ew, I don't want to wear that. One day, Kotlik became impregnated by an obsidian dagger and gave birth to Koyol Zan Aku, goddess of the moon, and to a group of male offspring who became the stars. The kids could not get along, so there became a bloody battle, with which after the cosmos crumbled and fell apart. Norse mythology also tells of time before creation, a dark time when restless gods stalked through an icy wasteland called Niflheim. Then one day, Ymir, a frost giant, was killed and his body carved up to form the world. His teeth became mountains and rocks, and his blood filled the rivers and seas. His skull was placed in the sky to form the dome, and his brains were scattered into the air to form clouds. From cosmic eggs to skull-faced mother goddesses, creation myths ranged the scope of human consciousness and experience. Emotional, imaginative brutality, decadent, and harsh at times, these fables and dreams sought to offer comfort and hope to help primitive people better understand and appreciate the mysterious universe around them. In the words of David Adams Leeming, author of The World of Myth, creation myths were important in the development of civilization because they helped us establish our reason for being, the source of our significance. Modern science provides us with yet another version of the creation story. Sorry, I just got a message. I had to look at it. The Big Bang, which assumes that the universe began in complete order and harmony, but has been moving rapidly toward chaos and apocalypse ever since. If this theory appears familiar, it should, states Leeming. Both the ancient Greek and medieval Christian view of history share much in common with the cosmologist's notion of the history of the universe. Death of the dinosaurs. They were big, bad, and mean, and always very hungry. For more than 140 million years, these lumbering monstrosities, the dinosaurs, were the undisputed masters of the planet. Then, approximately 65 million years ago, something terrible happened, and they suddenly vanished. To this day, no one knows why. I thought it was a moon. The fate of the dinosaurs, the largest and most spectacular creatures ever to walk the earth, remains one of science's greatest unsolved mysteries. Did a comet or meteorite strike the planet and wipe them out? Did they grow too big to feed themselves and starve to death? Or was it something else, raiders from other worlds, perhaps, or a black hole that swiped the earth, that brought doom to these fabulous beasts? I'm telling you, if it was a black hole, this whole planet would be gone. Maybe it was gone into another dimension. Dinosaurs have both terrified and fascinated people since the mid-19th century, when famed anatomist Professor Richard Owen first introduced the term. For centuries, nobody knew about the great prehistoric reptiles that thundered across the landscape millions of years ago. Fossils found on mountainsides and along riverbeds were thought to be the remains of giants drowned in a biblical flood about 5,000 years ago. Once the existence of dinosaurs was accepted, scientists and laymen alike wanted to know more about these gargantuan creatures. What were they like? What color were they? What did they eat? How big did they grow? Most importantly, people wanted to know what happened to them. Some paleontologists think that diseases and parasites, perhaps brought to Earth on an asteroid or meteorite, struck down these mighty animals. Another widely held viewpoint points to the evidence that cosmic radiation from the sun or some exploding star caused fatal mutations. There are numerous other explanations ranging from global warming and starvation to a massive aerial bombardment from space. Some scientists say the dinosaurs became extinct because their brains were too small and their bodies were too large. Others think they just grew old and died off. One plausible theory holds that poisonous gases belched up from volcanoes and shifting continental plates did them in. A few fanciful investigators claim that raiding parties from other worlds came down and kidnapped the great reptiles, the first alien abductions. Finally, there is the possibility that dinosaurs did not become extinct at all. They merely evolved into creatures that still exist, like birds, chickens, supposedly. I don't know. But there have been sightings not only of little tiny T-Rexes in the Four Corners area, but pterodactyls. So, I don't know. I think they survived. I know the Mayans even carved, I want to call it Stegosaurus. The ones with the little plates on their back. They carved them in there. They only carved what they saw or experienced. And then people have pictures here of, like I said, little tiny T-Rexes. And then there's videos now out of pterodactyls. Like, stuff is going crazy. Are all these different things colliding? Like, different realms, etc.? I don't know. There are numerous other explanations ranging from global warming, starvation, massive aerial bombardment from space. Some scientists say the dinosaurs became extinct because, well, like we said, their brains were too small and their bodies were too big. Others think they just grew old and died off. One plausible theory holds that poisonous gases belched up from volcanoes and shifting continental plates did them in. A few fanciful investigators claim that raiding parties from other worlds came, and that was the first alien abductions. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. Finally, there is the possibility that dinosaurs did not become extinct at all. They merely evolved into creatures that still exist, like birds, chickens, blah blah blah. That's where we left off. Most of these views have been dismissed as idle speculation by paleontologists because they seem to represent simplistic attempts to explain big and dramatic events. A growing number of scientists now suspect that a combination of factors might have contributed to the dinosaurs' doom. Dinosaurs, Greek for terrible lizard, came in all shapes and sizes, from tiny chicken-sized creatures who scampered about on two legs to hulking tank-like brutes with armor-plated hides and horns. Winged terrors with gaping claws ruled the skies, while scaly lizard-like behemoths dominated the warm seas. Yet, by the end of the Cretaceous period, 65 million years ago, not a single one of these creatures was around. As paleontologists believe death came from the stars in the form of a large asteroid, perhaps 6 miles wide and weighing 1 billion tons, that collided with the Earth and obliterated 2/3 of all life on the planet. The impact must have been truly colossal, at least 100 million times greater than the eruption of Mount St. Helens, more powerful than all the nuclear bombs ever made in the history of the world. Monstrous tidal waves spawned by earthquakes that shook mountains and ignited fiery volcanoes roared across the land, washing away thundering herds of beasts. Ghastly plumes of dust and ash billowed high over the planet, blocking out sunlight and triggering lethal showers of sulfuric acid that lasted for years. I heard about acid rain. It's pretty scary. Temperatures around the globe plunged. Massive volcanic eruptions continued to shake the continents, while hurricanes, super intense hurricanes, blew furiously across the boiling, bone-littered landscape. Darkness settled over the planet. Those prehistoric creatures not incinerated in the initial blast or swept away in the storms and surging tidal waves must have died slow, agonizing deaths as the air grew thick with poisonous gases and food supplies gave out. As these great herds perished, new masters of the planet began to emerge, small, furry animals that eventually evolved into the creature known as man. Geologist Walter Alvarez of the University of California, Berkeley, was one of the first scientists to propose that a massive asteroid strike caused the demise of the dinosaurs. His controversial theory found few supporters until 1980, when he found a massive crater off the Yucatan coast of Central America. Coast, not coast. The crater, measuring more than 100 miles wide and 3,000 feet deep, contained a layer of iridium, an element extremely rare on Earth, but abundant on other celestial bodies. Deep testing showed that the radium was laid down about 65 million years ago, coinciding with the dinosaurs' extinction. Dinosaurs were not the only victims of this mass extinction. Many other species were killed off as well, including all marine reptiles such as Plesiosaurus, Mosasaurus, Ichthyosaurus, and Ammonites, swimming and flying reptiles, sea crocodiles, and foraminifera. In addition, many bony fishes, sponges, snails, and sea urchins became extinct. Not all scientists are convinced that an asteroid strike caused the demise of the dinosaurs. Some think the end was a more gradual process that might have begun more than 100 million years ago, with dramatic temperature changes and other environmental factors, such as the breakup of continents, the diminished food-rich habitats. While this was going on, massive and continual volcanic eruptions darkened the skies with lethal gases and spewed rivers of lava across former grazing grounds. Even if these other events occurred, scientists believe the coup de grace came in the form of a huge asteroid roaring down from space. They say the fate of the dinosaurs was sealed the moment that nameless piece of rock struck home. Twilight of Neanderthal. Think Neanderthal and images of grunting, stoop-shouldered cavemen clad in bearskin loincloths and brandishing clubs come to mind. That's unfortunate because new research indicates that this big-brained ancestor who roamed Europe and parts of Africa and Asia more than 150,000 years ago was not the dim-witted brood of yore. In fact, burial sites in Spain, Croatia, Israel, and elsewhere suggest Neanderthals were sensitive, thoughtful creatures who looked after their sick and wounded and tenderly cared for the dead, as evidenced by flowers and other personal items found in some graves. More than a few scholars have gone so far as to say these enigmatic ancestors would probably blend in fairly well in a contemporary crowd, at least as long as he kept his mouth shut. Neanderthals were highly resourceful, highly intelligent creatures, says Fred Smith. a Neanderthal specialist at Northern Illinois University. They were not big, dumb brutes by any stretch of the imagination. They were us, only different. Scientists have learned a lot about these prehistoric people since the first fossilized remains were discovered in Germany's Neander Valley, hence the German name Neanderthal, or anglicized Neanderthal. In 1856, the first they thought this curious creature was the so-called missing link between humans and apes. Others thought it was a misshapen freak from the Middle Ages. The origins of Neanderthal are uncertain, but scientists suspect they emerged as a distinct human form roughly 230,000 years ago in Europe. Skeletal remains show they were stocky, robust, and muscular, traits that helped them adapt so long in the periods of glacial cold in northern Europe. While their brains were larger than more advanced humans who moved into Europe about 50,000 years ago, they appeared to be sufficient in tool technology, art, and other customs typically associated with enlightened humans. Neanderthals roamed far and wide, pursuing game and avoiding ice sheets. They journeyed as far north as Britain and as far south as Italy and Spain, probably in small bands of 30 or less. From the Rhine River in Germany, they spread toward Central Asia, finally reaching Israel and other Middle East locations. Some Neanderthals lived in caves. Others established campsites along animal migration routes, digging holes or trenches for shelter. Never numerous, their total population at any one time probably numbered only in the tens of thousands. Early in their development, it appears that Neanderthals were scavengers and probably competed with wolves, lions, and hyenas for food. Later, as hunting skills improved, they went after bigger game, bison, elk, even mammoths. Evidence found at some sites leads to speculation that these Dawn Age people might have practiced cannibalism on occasion. It has long been suggested that Neanderthals lacked an incest taboo, universal among all modern human societies, and did not follow an established pattern of mating and marriage between nuclear families. Despite their large brains and impressive foraging skills, it is doubtful that they ever developed symbols for communication or artistic expression. Contrary to early views, Neanderthals did not die out immediately upon the arrival of clever newcomers called Cro-Magnons. Anthropologists have found abundant evidence suggesting Neanderthals were around as recently as 33,000 years ago in Croatia, 30,000 years ago in southern Spain. In other words, these two early human groups, Neanderthals and Cro-Magnon, coexisted for more than 10,000 years. How did they get along? Was there tension and conflict between the two groups? Until recently, the common view was that Cro-Magnon and more advanced group used refined weaponry and superior tactical intelligence to simply exterminate their slower-moving neighbors in battle. Nowadays, many scientists lean toward a gradual assimilation theory. This suggests that Neanderthals intermingled with the superior race and, over time, were simply absorbed by the dominant species. Bones found in Croatia seem to confirm that Neanderthals were, in fact, beginning to breed with groups of modern humans arriving from the Middle East. Other scientists disagree. They were a different species, argues Fred Spohr of the University College in London. There is no convincing evidence of interbreeding on any significant scale. Hello? They did. Different tribes did. Then what happened to this wandering group of people thousands of years before the birth of civilization? If their population was not eradicated by modern immigrants or brought out of existence, why did they suddenly vanish from the world stage? Perhaps they were an evolutionary dead end from the get-go, destined to become extinct in humanity's long evolution march upward. Perhaps the newcomers on the scene, smarter, taller, more artistic, and technologically dominant in every way, simply outclass these enigmatic, stoop-shouldered creatures from the past. I did my 23andMe thing, and it actually showed I am part Neanderthal. Just a small percent, but it's pretty interesting to check out. I don't know if you guys have. So on that note, boys and girls, we do have to go to our second music break. On this break, we have Miss Mia Savage with her band Antidote for Savages. She'll be singing Not a Phase, Your Skeleton, The Bottom Line, and The Mirroring Crypto, and we'll eke into that music break with Mr. Jeff Hilliard and his song Good Life. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Excuse me! Excuse me! You got a cigarette? Hey, you help a guy out with some spare change. Anything will do, man. Oh, God bless. Can I just get your change? I need some bucks. I got these 6 right down the... I'm not an animal! Moving like a steak knife. This is the good life. Dancing in the moonlight. I wanna be inside of you. We got plenty to do. Tell the quarter to 2. And I know you wanna ride my Cadillac. Don't give me no flack. I'll put you flat on your back. Moving like a steak knife. That's right. This is the good life. Dancing in the moonlight. I'm a sexual phenomenon, and you know I'm a sexual phenomenon, and I know I'm a sexual phenomenon. We all know I'm a sexual phenomenon. Get money, get high. Don't care if I live or die. Get money, get high. Don't care if I live or die.
Welcome to the classic world, the Rockies. Fast around these funky sets, jumping around in the ocean like I'm really cool because I have a train in a truck. No one's looking at you, no one's your God's not gonna save you. They're hiding behind the moon, watching your every move. This is the good life. This is the good life. This is the good life.
Get money.
Hard to tell us that there was, but it let the demons run amok.
But it doesn't matter, because it's just a ride, and we can change it anytime we want.
It's all we need, a choice. No record, no work, no job, no saving to money.
Just a choice right now between fear and love. Choice right now between fear and love.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining me this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Turn this down a smidge. Oh man, our music's been turned down this whole time. Oh well, still sounded really good. Alright, so we're going to continue with Reddit Ghost Stories. This one is by feeling_value2503. I literally didn't believe in anything not factual, and that same year I saw some unexplainable shit. My sister always talked about this imaginary friend. It wasn't abnormal, she was 9, but she always complained the friend followed her around, always wanted to play, never left her alone. She was annoyed. I thought, what a friend to make up. She insisted this person was real, however. I would have an explanation for every strange happening. The floorboards creak, it's an old house. Our house is on a hill, it's not level, so of course things would move across the floor. Or gravity simply causes things to fall off shelves. The experiences got harder to deny though. I was swayed on this normal day. I was taking a shower, set my towel on the counter against the wall. I heard a crash in the bathroom, and I immediately opened the curtain. The same second, the towel and my phone were on the floor in the middle of the bathroom. It didn't make sense. It wasn't on the edge of the counter about to fall, and if it was, it wouldn't have fallen that far away. The occurrences increased and became more obvious. The three of us living upstairs would hear unmistakable footsteps. Slow thudding, trudging from one side, my sister's room, across to my side of the room. But I was a see-it-to-believe-it person, and one night I awoke at 2 a.m. randomly. I randomly fell asleep with my fairy lights lining the corners of my ceiling still on. You know that part of awakening, or waking up, where you're not totally conscious yet? The few seconds where you're coming to? My lights flickered and there was movement by my dresser in the corner of my room. I couldn't see it from where my bed was. There was a wall that blocked it off. I wasn't quite aware of what was happening. My heart stopped when I came to. Someone was in my room. In that instant, I had a thought that someone broke in, but it felt like a kid, my sibling's age, trying to reach the top of my dresser, messing with things. But why would she be up this late doing that? In that same second, everything froze. I realized I was aware of it. It realized I was aware of it. And I felt it realize that. And suddenly it sprinted, running right past my bed to the other side of my room, all the way to my little sister's room. I saw it. It was a small kid with blonde hair around my sister's age, except the hair was thinner, and the body was too. Too fast to get a good look, but definitely saw a kid run right in front of me. I told my boyfriend at that time, and he said it sounds like a kid had taken a liking to me, was messing with me. But at night, it didn't feel like a kid. The footsteps were heavy. It felt big and tall. I had sleepless nights, too scared to go to bed. I'd be up as late as possible on my phone, and I'd stare at the wall in the dark. I knew it had felt me awake. It wanted to scare me. It used our fear. And that was no child. One night, the footsteps came again. It walked closer and closer to me, my back to the noise. I pretended to be asleep as the footsteps grew near. I felt it standing right at the bed, and I held my breath. Then, I felt the weight of someone sitting right next to me. The bed physically cushioned beneath. This was not a friend. It was tricking my sister. Oh no. This one is by you/3eyesraven. My experience with water. When I was 11, I went to the beach with a neighbor kid of the same age who dragged me far away. While I couldn't swim, the sea where I live is a very dangerous sea. Somehow, I crawled under the sea sand for a while until I grasped the tail of a kid's shirt until I got back to shore. I remember very well hearing a voice grabbing the tail of my shirt while I was crawling under the sea sand. Another time, when I was hanging out with my friends in a demilitarized zone, I almost jumped off a reef. From the military area to the nearby fishing village, you had to jump over a large concrete block to get down to a sandy beach. If you are not careful, you will choose the wrong place and jump into the reef area. For some reason at that time, my body was tilted about 45 degrees, but did not fall. I was shocked and stood there for about 5 seconds until a soldier discovered and chased me out of that area. It was the summer of my 7th grade year. Both times I was exposed to seawater and miraculously escaped death. I told my mother. She said my grandmother drowned in the water. She was distraught after the death of my grandmother and often wandering along the river near her house. She almost drowned my mother, who was 2 years old then. My mom said maybe Grandma's soul might have saved me in those 2 cases. I'm still afraid of sea, ponds, or even waterly area until now. So maybe now she feels protected by her grandmother? I don't know. This still bothers me today. This is by you /DWalks96. Note, I really don't believe in ghosts and am a very skeptic person, but these events I experienced really stumble me to this day. The year was 2011 and I was 15 years old. I was laying in bed when I suddenly heard faint screams of a man within my room, and the screams were circling around me. I actually thought I was going crazy, but I knew I felt mentally stable at the time and thinking straight. So I pulled my phone at the time and started recording audio of the supposed screams. When I hit playback after they stopped only after a minute or so, I heard it clear as day on the phone. I don't know how I was able to sleep that night, but eventually I did. The next morning, I instantly checked my phone again in the audio recording, and it was still there, reaffirming myself that it was not a dream or some mental episode along those lines. When I got to school, I told my friend the whole thing about it, and of course they didn't believe me, and I even said I had the proof because I recorded it. And I shit you not, I pulled my phone out of my pocket and the phone was completely shattered, with the SD card inside of it was completely corrupted too. I wasn't being rough or fell or anything like that. Of course, I looked like an idiot after and got laughed at and everything. I'm truly a skeptic, but GD, that truly pisses me off, even until this very day, because that audio was completely real. This happened again in 2016. It was early morning, I was up and about getting ready for work, and I alone in the house. My dog's ears perked up, and I began to listen with him. We both heard someone moaning in pain with an uncertain point of source in the room. Again, it was faint and very disembodied sounding. I pulled out my phone again, this time with iPhone video, not a flip phone. The noise stopped. I played it back, and I was there. It was there. Later that day, the video vanished. I couldn't recover it either. I also wanted to add that someone did apparently die in my room 25 years ago before we moved in. I had other spooky stuff happen, but they could be easily marked off as explainable and not really interesting. This one is by you /AlphaPup3. Grandma's Final Goodbyes. When others share their experiences about losing a close loved one, I often believe them. This is especially the case if they were young. Childhood is such innocence and unclouded by the viewpoints and agendas adults fill our minds with. Completely, I believe, we're able to clearly see what's around us, as at this short time in our lives. My grandma Elaine and I were very close, as she raised me from a young age until I moved out on my own at 18. I'm skipping over many years of interim turmoil to avoid writing a long story. She passed in 2005 in her home of 50 years, the home I spent over 20 years in. Since I was small, she and I, as well as my grandma, her mom, Ruth, shared a special kind of paranormal gift, to sense and see otherworldly things, to put it simply. Many, many stories to share there. By 2005, I'd been living in Texas for 5 years, and she was in my home state, California. I flew back a day before her funeral and stayed at my childhood room. It was literally right next to her room at the end of the hall. When going down the hall, her bed was smack middle of the room, and you were looking at her side. Such an intense feeling looking at the spot she had just experienced a heart attack in her sleep and died in my father's arms. I've tried for nearly 20 years to describe the feeling of concentrated spirituality in that space, almost like a vortex between this world and some other timeless place. That night, I was walking down the hallway, which was inky pitch black, so dark you couldn't see your own hand in front of your face, heading towards my room. It was dead silent, no light from anywhere, where the old house was situated at the end of the dead-end street. There was zero traffic, and mostly elderly neighbors who went to bed early, unnerving in its own right. Suddenly, a small pea-sized ball of super intense bluish-white energy, for lack of a better way to describe, appeared in front of me about chest level. It was hovering in place, not moving. Only emotion I recall feeling was wonderment, as I'd never seen anything like it. That was mostly odd, looking back, as how it was so bright yet didn't cast any glow on me, or surrounding hallway walls, as though its presence was self-contained. Out of nowhere, I felt it was my grandma. I found myself asking aloud, "Grandma? Is that you?" A moment later, it shot down the hallway towards the bedroom and vanished. I didn't see it actually fly away solid, but rather it stretched into a long thin line as it sparkled / faded away. Very difficult to describe. I stood there a moment pondering what just happened. I wanted so much to go tell someone, as my father was staying in the living room and my uncle in another. Quickly I realized that wouldn't believe me, say I was imagining things or lying for attention. Upon realizing it didn't matter if they knew or believed me, and that she revealed herself to me. I continued on and went to bed. It was my experience, not theirs. That night, I dreamed it was the next day, in early morning, and Grandma was in her room, on Grandpa's side of the bed, joyfully folding clothes. The sun was so bright and warm as she was nearly glowing with happiness. Been a long time since I saw her in such high spirits. Excuse me. I could hear our relatives at front of the house talking and making noise as they made breakfast and drank coffee in the kitchen. I recall being so excited to see she was alive, and the upcoming funeral was a big mistake. I was so relieved my best friend wasn't really dead, as she stood right before me. She was smiling and laughing like everything was okay. She'd always been there for me, especially when my mother abandoned me as a small child. Then my father disowned me, as partying with his buddies was more important. Elaine was the one constant I knew I could count on to be there for me no matter what. She was my entire family all in one. Thought of losing her was too much to accept. In my exuberant excitement, she was still alive. I told her not to go anywhere as I ran up front to let everyone know she was okay. She chuckled and said, "No, I'm not alive anymore. I spent 50 years here, and it's what's familiar. It brings me comfort, and I don't want to leave." Instantly, I was overwhelmed with sadness when I realized I had to let her go. Her spirit or essence, whatever it was, couldn't remain. Through thick tears, I told her how much I loved her, and that she needed to cross over. She didn't belong on Earth anymore. My heart sank when I realized she had vanished and I was alone. I woke up and knew that was her goodbye, and felt I helped her let go of this existence. For many years, I wondered if it was just a dream my head conjured as my coping grieving mechanism, my way of telling her I loved her before she left. The experience was so real, unlike any other dream I'd ever had before. My father was in the living room watching TV with a bizarre look on his face. He asked me if I heard all the ruckus last night, which I hadn't. While he was sleeping on the couch in the middle of the night, he kept hearing feet pattering around the wood floors as though they ran around in childish excitement. Lots of giggling and playful joy. There were no kids in the house. This went on throughout the night as he laid wide awake, unable to sleep. He managed to drift off for a few hours and dreamed his mom was young and healthy again, as she was running through fields of flowers and endless colorful beauty. She was free. I believe for nearly 20 years now, she was in her home that night saying her goodbyes to each of us and letting everyone know she was happy, she was okay, and would be too. It's pretty interesting how this realm and the dream realm collide, and you actually are able to not only see, a lot of times you can hear or just feel the emotions or sense or look at the expressions on their face as they're trying to say goodbye. It's funny, you can't just dream about somebody that passed away. You have to wait for them to come visit. This one is by u/no-importance7. Ghosts at Fort Benning? Not my story, but asking for my younger brother, who is an Army medic currently stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia. Also, I'm very much out of the loop in both paranormal and military terms, so my deepest apologies if any terms I use are inaccurate. My brother, who I'll call John, 18 years old and male, for the sake of this post called me, 20-year-old male, yesterday in a panic while I was working to tell me that he saw a ghost on base. He doesn't usually call, especially not when he knows I'm busy, so I know this was serious. He said that he was driving near Harmony Hill when he saw a man walk out towards the road wearing BDU, which, when I looked it up, it said it stands for Battle Dress Uniform, which was used from the 80s to early 2000s, with blood all over his face, and he says the man asked him for directions to the main post. John pointed him in the right direction, but when he looked in his mirrors, the man was gone. John also shared with me that he had soiled his pants after realizing what he saw. I wonder if he literally did or if that was figurative. The only other times I've heard him sound that upset were after he crashed an ATV with both of us in it, and when he was under investigation for a serious crime that he had no involvement in. He's usually very level-headed and reserved. When John was younger, around 3 or 4, he used to talk a lot about paranormal encounters and other metaphysical things. But as far as I can get out of him, he has no recollection or desire to recall those scenarios. We went to see a few medium psychics who talked to him about his experiences, but I don't know whatever came of those conversations. He never brought them up. He used to mention auras of strangers and family members, but the only specifics I remember were him saying that he, couldn't see mine because something was blocking it. He also mentioned another spirit he thinks he saw while he was on fire watch one night. He says he saw a man in UCP. Had to look it up again. This one was Universal Camouflage Pattern, which was only used from 2005 to 2019. Crying on a bench somewhere in the B Company barracks at/near the airborne school. He says this could not have been a real person because the lights in the room are motion activated, and the lights were not triggered by the man's presence. He says he was watching the cameras and no one came in or out. I feel like it's relevant to disclose that he was recently sent for a psychological evaluation because he reacted violently to a minor inconvenience, and I was recently sent to a psychiatric hospital for PTSD and depression as well as possible bipolar disorder. I say this not to discount his encounters, but rather to try fully to understand all the contributing factors to our situation. Has anyone encountered spirits similar to this at Fort Benning? Does anyone have any suggestions for how I can support him? I think just listening, and allowing him to vent and not judging him is pretty key. This one is by you /accurate_peace_857. A good Ouija experience? I want to share this strange and very good Ouija board experience that happened to my mother. This was in the 1970s. I was about 8, and I clearly remember this and how very thankful yet completely weirded out the family was afterward. My mom and dad were at a friend's house late one evening, drinking and carrying on. It was October, so for fun, they decided to mess around with their kids' Ouija board. None of them were serious about it or had experienced anything weird with the board. This was definitely a Halloween drinking game situation. After a while, the message, "Mimi, call Mary," came up. This freaked my mom out. Her brother, who was a lot older than her and had seen or been dead for about a year, called her Mimi as a nickname when she was a kid. No one else had ever called her that. My father didn't know about that nickname, and her friends certainly did not, and her brother's wife's name was Mary. She didn't want to call right then, as they were well into their martinis, calling Mary and waking her up after midnight to say they heard from her dead husband on a Ouija board. Not a good idea. The next morning, she called Mary first thing and got no answer. She tried a couple more times, and Mary didn't pick up. That message had rattled her, so she made my dad drive her to Mary's home to check in on her. Mary was at the bottom of the stairs and had broken her hip the day before, and she was unable to get to the phone to call for help. Mom took the chances of her calling Mary early that morning, much less being worried enough to drive 45 minutes to her house if Mary didn't answer the phone, were 0 if she had not had that experience the night before. That's pretty cool. Mine was a pretty positive experience too, but then my dad's like, these things can trick or entrap you, so. This one is by you, /infernal screaming. I think they meant to put internal, but it's infernal. Just happened. This happened at 2:26 a.m. Mountain Time. Typing at 2:49. To start off, my wife and I just got a little kitten named Dougie. Dougie Jones, as a Twin Peaks reference. Precious little fuck, orange with a white belly. Normally, we don't let him sleep in our room with us, as he has a tendency to be a little shit and destroy things, and have zoomies. Anyway, my wife just woke up saying, "Bro, what the fuck?" And I look over, and sure enough, there's a kitten on her chest, partially under the covers. I look over at her bedroom door, and it's closed, and I hear meowing coming from the other side of it. I look back over, and the kitten on my wife is gone. Pull out the flashlight, check under the bed, sit up the bed, room, nothing. And as I'm sitting there, what the effing, I remember that the kitten I saw was all white and appeared under the cover. Now I'm just confused and wondering why a cat apparition appeared to my wife, and I'm also kind of pissed off that the audacity of it to appear in my MFing bedroom. They don't really care where you're at. That ghost is gonna be like, "Oh, I'm sorry." This one is by you /necessary-soft3586. Something keeps knocking down by my soundbar. I don't know what's going on. I'm a widow. I don't know if it's my husband trying to communicate or what's going on. I have a cat, but it just fell while watching a movie. This has happened multiple times, so it's not her. What's going on? Maybe it is your husband. I don't know. It's really hard to say. This one's by you/Killer Red Man Ranger. My experience at Bodmin Jail. One time while I was on holiday, one of the activities to do at the place I was staying was visit Bodmin Jail, which is a very haunted prison that was around for a long time, and I felt actual spiritual presences, and I was not the only one. My mom and a couple of my siblings felt these presences too. I know this is a short story, but I have a bonus thing. They are making Bodmin Jail into a hotel. Why would anyone think this is even slightly a good idea? So yeah, Bodmin Jail feels haunted. A lot of people died in Bodmin Jail, and my mom said that she was going to do a thing to prevent the spirits from following and staying with us, but never did so. Final thing after that experience, I started feeling like there was something in my bathroom's bathtub. So I am pretty sure that a spirit followed me home and is now residing in my bathtub. Well, that's a weird place for a spirit to reside, don't you think? This one is by you, Beans C98. True ghost story. Scary encounter turned my skeptical mother into a believer. Before any of this happened, my mom never believed in ghosts. Not so much that people stopped existing after death, as she still believes in heaven, but she didn't think the souls would stick around or get stuck with us. I believed, and still do believe in ghosts, which she thought was weird until about a year ago. I had moved back in with my mom after college while waiting to get an apartment of my own. Her house, which she bought the year before, isn't that old, late 2000s or early 2010s. It's small and serves as a nice place to live after she retired. As far as we knew, the previous resident had died while in a nursing home, not on the property. So there might have been a previous resident, the first after the house was built, since we occasionally got mail for the same guy. Let's call him D. Well, we'll come back to him later. So here's what happened. It's late at night and I'm getting ready for bed. Hair and rollers, clay mask on, putting body moisturizer on my arms while listening to my music on speaker. Mom's already in bed and her bedroom is on the other side of the house. Just as I'm halfway through my routine, I hear her yell my name. And it wasn't in the way that parents yell when you're in trouble or need you to put away the groceries. It sounded like something big happened. I think it's her old dog using the bedroom as a bathroom again, so I head over. When I walk in, my mom's white as a sheet, looking around like she's looking for something. I ask her what's up, and she is freaked out, saying that a man was in her room. I'm weirded out since no one could get into her room, window too tiny for a person to climb through, and I just checked the front and back doors locks, and before I went to the bathroom. She goes on to say that she was lying in bed, waiting to fall asleep when she looked over and saw a man coming towards her from her bathroom, hands stretched out to her. Described it like the drawing of the evil uncle from Twitches. She bolted up out of fear or to scream for help because he looked so real, only for him to just not be there when she moved. I joked that she had a ghost in her room, and she told me not to say that because she was thinking the same thing, but didn't want it to be true. My mom got up and was pacing around in the room for a bit and tried to go back to sleep with light on, but ended up sleeping on her recliner that night. She did go back to sleeping in her room after that night, but only for a couple nights before she had a flight across the country to visit my siblings. I agreed to sleep in her room since that's where her pet's kennels are, and joked that I would tell her if I ran into the ghost. Kinda mean on my part since the experience really shook my mom, but it felt kind of funny how serious she got and insisted it was a ghost after not believing in them before. However, the first night, something just felt wrong when I turned off the lights and settled into bed. I felt a sense of impending dread while lying there, and something told me not to fall asleep. It was so creepy, and despite no logical reason to be, I was scared to go to sleep in my mom's room. Like something was waiting for me the second I lost consciousness. And I was the stupid character who was walking around the haunted house whilst the ghost got closer. Too spooked to go to sleep, I turned on the light and grabbed some sage and moon-charged crystals I have in my room, putting/burning them around the bedroom and her bathroom doorways. Then I texted my mom and told her, yep, her room is haunted and that something was scaring me from going to sleep. She was not happy to hear that I got spooked as well and needed crystals and sage and the lights on to sleep. So right before she came home, my mom did a lot of research and got crystals and a cross that were supposed to help filter out strong negative energy. She brought it home, replaced my protection stuff with hers, and even made a proclamation her first night back in her room that this was her home. And if the spirit was going to scare or hurt her again, he was not welcomed and had to leave. Thankfully, it seemed that all of that worked, as she hasn't had any experience like that again. So who was the spirit? We honestly don't know. I suspect it was D, since he was the first resident and might have come back if he died. But we don't know if he is actually dead, so it may not be him. Another explanation is that the spirit was invited in a few weeks prior when my mom was super sick. It wasn't COVID or something that needed the hospital, but she couldn't leave her room for over a week and only got better after about 10 days. We read that sometimes being super sick can attract negative spiritual attention, and since she was stuck in her room for the time, it might have settled there instead of another part of our house. But since then, my mom still affirms that something tried to grab her that night and hasn't moved her protection since. This one is by you/Big Nasty Bert. Malevolent experience with what I think was a demon. To set the scene, it was 2014. I lived in a house with my immediate family of 5. My mom, stepdad, older sister, younger brother, and younger sister. Alongside them, we had my cousin's family living with us, 4 of them, my aunt, who was a really awful person and a drug addict, her mom, and her 2 sons, one older than me by 2 years, one younger by 2 years. Also, we had my older sister's girlfriend, her friend, and her friend's mother. Her friend's mother had scabies, which causes huge sores all over her skin. It's really nasty. There was a lot of negative family events that occurred in that house that eventually broke the family apart. There was a front and back living room. Attached to the back living room was a small bedroom, my room, and attached to that was the garage, which was where I heard and saw freaky things frequently. Another thing about the house was that a long time ago, a man murdered his wife with a knife. There was even still a large bloodstain on the floor when my grandfather bought the house. Anyway, now that the scene is set, I always sleep with the TV on, even to this day. I think the background noise reminds me of growing up and is comforting. I was sleeping in my room in the back and my aunt was sleeping on the couch in the back living room. I start having this dream where I have sleep paralysis. I've had it awake a few times, but this time it was just in the dream. I look over and my light is on in my room, but my TV is off, and the window behind it is pitch black. I hear a knock on my door and it opens. The woman with scabies steps in and walks around my bed up to me while I watch her unable to move. She taps on my shoulder, steps back and says, "Hey, it's time to get up," in a nice voice. I obviously can't move, but as she steps back toward the door to the garage, a bunch of black veins start crawling up her neck. They're sort of like how lightning looks as they approach her eyes, where her eyes then turn completely black. I'm freaking out, but still can't move or talk. She keeps saying, "Get up," repeatedly. I wake up and my TV is on. I can see the street light behind through the window, and my light is off. So I knew I was awake, but I was super freaked out. I lay in my bed for about 15 minutes, just frozen in fear, because I feel like if I look at the garage door, I'll see something I really don't want to see right now. Out of nowhere, I hear this blood-curdling scream come from the back living room. So I crawl to the front of my bed, turn turn on my bedroom light and open the door to the living room. My aunt is screaming, flailing her arms around like she's being attacked or something. "Aunt's name, what the fuck are you doing?" I yelled at her. She keeps screaming and eventually stops and whips her head toward me and says in a voice totally consumed by fear, "People are touching me all over." Me, being the young coward I was, said, "Dude, what the fuck?" and closed the door, crawled back over, and laid back down. Needless to say, I barely slept at all after that. We had so many insanely terrifying experiences in that house. Someone once said about half the people in the world have paranormal experiences all the time, and half have never had one. I don't know if there's something about my family, but I've lived in like 20 houses growing up, and it feels like all but maybe 5 of them were haunted. Some more malevolent and active than others. Anyway, that's my story. If anyone wants to hear about any of my other experiences, I'm always open to share. Let's see if we have time for another one. Oh no, this one looks kind of long. Let's try it. This one is by you creeping it real. What's your weirdest paranormal urban legend story? I have several, as my area, specifically my grandmother's house and her surrounding area, has high paranormal energy around due to it being rather rural and the astonishing amounts of suicides and murders in the area. Most of the suicides took place on my grandmother's property. One man's family went missing, leaving the man who committed unalive in the woods behind the house. The second one, just the same as the first, only multiple bodies were found. Due to this, my grandmother's property is rather haunted, some of which I have experienced myself. As far back as I can remember, there's always been one area of the house I would never venture into. It just felt off, like I was being watched by something, and it scared me. One night I was staying with my grandma because she had fallen down a flight of stairs and couldn't walk because she broke her pelvis in 3 different areas. I slept on my mother's old room, which was an office at some point, as it had an old Macintosh Apple computer on the desk with my Dell laptop next to it. I was driving off to sleep one night when I heard it. I heard footsteps just outside my door. They didn't run, it was somebody walking. But the steps stopped at my door. Freaked out, I flipped the lights on and didn't see anything. I left the lights on the rest of the night. Nothing happened after that. I even left my phone recording all night. But the only thing I got was me talking in my sleep. I do that a lot. Arguing with my mom about donuts. The rest of the time I was there taking care of my grandma, nothing happened as well. My grandma's house was built in the 1800s and is barely standing now. Grandma claims that she has had experiences with it as well. From people pushing her down the stairs, things moving from one place to another, or disappearing for months on end and reappearing sometime later, to hearing disembodied voices, children, and my late grandfather, and a cat call whistling. The house is not in the best of shape, as one spark from a loose wire could cause it to go up like a tinderbox. It's a very old house. We got time for this one. This one is by you/TR5552221. Any urban legends, paranormal activity in the area of Brasov, Romania? I'm tired of searching the internet for one. I only find tours and some old stories about King Solomon, who lost his crown at the bottom of a tree. I want to hear one from you guys. King Solomon in Romania? Unlikely. Ever hear of a guy named Vlad Dracul? Yes, I live in Romania. There's a story about Vlad Zepes, who used to be Dracula, a vampire, but it's at around 23 kilometers from Brasov. It's all commercial, nothing real. The name Brasov actually means the town of the crown. It is said that King Solomon dropped his crown at the bottom of the tree, and that's why it's called so. I don't know, didn't we read earlier that King Solomon actually took his own life? Not sure about that, but let's see here. Unfortunately, boys and girls, it is the end of our time. Thank you so much once again for joining me on We Are Paradox Media's Date Night in the Rockies. It's been wonderful spending a Sunday to you, reading the different stories. I'm super excited about our new book. Can't wait to get into it next week. We're going to do that on Sunday. Thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, KPNL Radio, Twitter, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and wherever else you may be listening to be on the Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time. Can't wait to do it again next weekend. Saturday, we have Second Chris Garcia on. We're going to do 3 second readings. And then on Sunday, it's going to be story time with me, TessaTNT. I hope you guys are looking forward to it as much as I am. Oh, I can't wait to do it. Until next time, night night, love and light to all my friends out there. Don't forget, we're all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are the Paradox Media because without you, there is no us. Until next time, night night, love and light to my beauties. I will see you back here at the same crazy time, same crazy place.